Julius Caesar was a legendary consul of Rome, a self-made Roman leader who changed the course of history. But how did Caesar become the consul of the Roman Republic? And how did his rule come to an end? Discover the answers to how one man's influence over Rome changed history and eventually led to the fall of the Roman Empire. Gaius Julius Caesar was born in 100 BCE in Rome on July 12th into an aristocratic family from the patrician class, the Julii, who claimed divine ancestry through the goddess Venus. His connection to myth and power would follow Caesar throughout his entire life. While noble by blood, Caesar's family wasn't especially wealthy or politically powerful. They were relatively modest compared to Rome's elite. Although Caesar had status, he didn't inherit vast influence. His father, Gaius Julius Caesar the Elder, served as a provincial governor in Asia. His mother, Aurelia Cotta, was known for her intelligence and strong moral compass. At age 16, Caesar's life took a dramatic turn. His father died suddenly, making young Julius the head of the household. This responsibility, combined with the turbulent politics of the time, forced him into early maturity. Rome, in the early 1st century BCE, was anything but stable. The Republic was crumbling under the weight of class tensions, political corruption, and violent power struggles between two factions: the Optimates, who represented the elite, and the Populares, who appealed to the common people. Caesar aligned himself with the Populares, following in the footsteps of his uncle by marriage, Gaius Marius, a famous general and 7-time consul. This choice would define Caesar's political career and put him at odds with some of Rome's most powerful men. When the dictator Lucius Cornelius Sulla seized control of Rome, he began a brutal purge of Marius's supporters. Caesar, just a teenager, found himself in danger. Sulla ordered him to divorce his wife Cornelia, the daughter of a political rival. Caesar refused, a daring act of defiance towards Sulla. Sulla stripped him of his inheritance and priesthood, forcing Caesar to flee the city and go into hiding. He was eventually pardoned, but his defiance was not forgotten. This moment shaped Caesar's destiny. It revealed a young man who was not only bold and loyal, but also willing to risk everything for his principles. From these early struggles emerged a leader who would stop at nothing to leave his mark on Rome and the world. After surviving Sulla's dictatorship and returning to Rome, Julius Caesar began the next phase of his journey, climbing the cursus honorum, or the Roman political ladder. He began his ascent modestly, serving as a military tribune, gaining valuable experience and earning respect among soldiers. He soon worked his way up to quaestor, a financial administrator role, in Hispania Ulteria. It was during his time in Hispania that Caesar's life would change forever. After his discovery of a statue of Alexander the Great, he realized that in his late 20s, Alexander the Great had already conquered half of the known world. Caesar, already in his late 20s, felt he had conquered so little. That realization ignited a fire in him. He returned to Rome, determined to not only rise, but dominate. In 63 BCE, Caesar pulled off a bold political move by running for Pontifex Maximus, the highest religious office in Rome. It was a risky campaign. He was up against powerful, well-connected senators. Caesar spent enormous sums of borrowed money, putting himself deep into debt. But his determination paid off. At just 36 years old, he was elected to one of Rome's most prestigious positions, and he didn't stop there. Over the next few years, Caesar served as praetor and then as governor of Hispania. His time as governor further showcased his military talent. He crushed rebellions, collected debts, and returned home, wealthy and victorious, ready for his biggest accomplishment yet. Back in Rome, Caesar formed a powerful alliance with two of the most influential men of the time, Pompey the Great, a celebrated general, and Marcus Licinius Crassus, the wealthiest man in Rome. Together they formed what would become known as the First Triumvirate, a secret political partnership that gave them unprecedented control of the Roman government. With their support, Caesar secured consulship in 59 BCE, Rome's highest elected office. And just like that, Caesar had gone from political outsider to one of the three most powerful men in the Republic. After Caesar's year as consul in 59 BCE, he was assigned a new role that would catapult him from political powerhouse to legendary general, proconsul of Gaul. Caesar's governorship gave him command over Cisalpine Gaul and Transalpine Gaul, along with Illyricum. More importantly, it gave him control of several legions and the opportunity to go to war. For nearly 10 years, Caesar led brutal and brilliant military campaigns across Gaul. His goal? To conquer the territory, secure Rome's northern border, and build his personal power through glory and wealth. Caesar's forces faced fierce resistance from tribes like the Helvetii, the Belgae, and the mighty Arverni, led by a charismatic war chief named Vercingetorix. By the end of the Gallic Wars, he had brought all of Gaul under Roman control, expanding the Republic's territory by hundreds of thousands of square miles. He had also made himself incredibly rich and, perhaps most importantly, immensely popular with the Roman people and his legions. But while Caesar's fame soared abroad, his power terrified many back home in Rome, and that fear would soon erupt into civil war. By 50 BCE, Caesar's term as governor was ending, and the Senate, led by his former ally, Pompey, ordered him to disband his army and return to Rome. Caesar knew what awaited him if he obeyed: trial, exile, or worse. His enemies feared his popularity and growing power, and without the legal immunity of office, he would be vulnerable. In 49 BCE, he led his army across the Rubicon River, the official boundary between his province and Italy. It was a direct act of rebellion, a declaration of civil war. As he crossed, Caesar is said to have repeated the famous phrase, "Alea iacta est," the die is cast. Panic erupted in Rome. Pompey and many senators fled the city, heading east to raise an army. Caesar, now labeled an enemy of the state, marched unopposed into Rome. What followed was a dramatic, fast-moving civil war. Caesar pursued Pompey across Italy, Spain, and eventually to Greece, where they would soon face off in a decisive battle. After defeating Pompey's forces in Greece at the Battle of Pharsalus in 48 BCE, Caesar expected a swift conclusion to the civil war. Pompey fled to Egypt, hoping to regroup, but instead he was betrayed. The young pharaoh Ptolemy XIII, seeking favor with Caesar, had Pompey murdered and presented his severed head to Caesar, but Caesar wasn't pleased. Pompey had been his rival, but also his former ally and son-in-law. While in Egypt, Caesar became entangled in a new conflict, a dynastic struggle between Ptolemy XIII and his sister, the ambitious and intelligent Cleopatra VII. Caesar backed Cleopatra, helping her defeat her brother in a short but intense war. In return, she was crowned queen, and the two became lovers. Cleopatra later gave birth to Caesar's only known child, Caesarion. After securing Cleopatra's rule, Caesar continued campaigning in the east. He defeated the king of Pontus with such speed that he famously declared, "Veni, vidi, vici." I came, I saw, I conquered. When Julius Caesar finally returned to Rome in 46 BCE, he was more than just a general. He was the most powerful man in Rome. With Pompey gone and his enemies scattered, the Senate had little choice but to grant Caesar extraordinary power. He was named dictator, first temporarily, then for 10 years, and finally, in 44 BCE, as dictator perpetuo, dictator for life. Caesar now held more power than any Roman before him. He immediately began implementing a sweeping series of reforms. He reorganized debt, passed new laws for land redistribution, and expanded the Senate to better represent the growing empire. He restructured the grain dole to reduce waste and curbed corruption in the provinces. He also created the Julian calendar, a solar-based system that is the foundation we use today. Caesar began massive public works projects, creating jobs and revitalizing Rome's infrastructure. To the common people, he was a hero, a leader who brought stability, prosperity, and vision. Despite Julius Caesar's sweeping reforms and immense popularity with the Roman people, resentment among the elite was growing. Many senators feared he was becoming too powerful, perhaps even aiming to become king, a title that sent chills down the spine of any true Roman Republican. The final straw may have come when Caesar accepted honors usually reserved for gods or monarchs. He wore a purple toga, sat on a golden throne in the Senate, and allowed a lifelike statue of himself to be carried in religious processions. In a society built on the idea that no one man should dominate, these symbols were deeply unsettling. At the Lupercalia festival in February 44 BCE, Caesar's ally, Mark Antony, publicly offered him a diadem, a symbol of kingship. Caesar refused it twice, but some believed the act was staged to test public reaction. Behind closed doors, a conspiracy was forming. Over 60 senators, including Marcus Junius Brutus, Gaius Cassius, and Decimus Brutus, plotted to kill Caesar in the name of saving the Republic. Some had personal grievances, others genuinely believed they were protecting Roman liberty. March 15th, 44 BCE, the Ides of March. That morning, Caesar was scheduled to attend a Senate meeting at the Theatre of Pompey, temporarily being used as a Senate house. Despite multiple warnings, including a written note handed to him on the way in, and the infamous warning from a soothsayer to beware the Ides of March, Caesar pressed on. Once inside, the conspirators surrounded him. The first blow came from Servilius Casca. Chaos erupted. Caesar was stabbed 23 times. According to some accounts, Brutus, a man he considered almost like a son, was among the attackers. Whether he actually said "et tu, Brute" is uncertain, but ancient sources agree that his final moments were filled with shock and betrayal. He fell, bleeding, at the base of a statue of Pompey, the very man whose downfall had solidified Caesar's power. Julius Caesar's assassination did not restore the Republic. Instead, it plunged Rome into another round of civil wars. Eventually, Caesar's adopted heir, Octavian, later known as Augustus, would emerge victorious, becoming Rome's first emperor. Caesar's death marked the end of what was once the Roman Republic, and the beginning of the new Roman Empire. His name lived on. Caesar became a title for emperors. Even centuries later, leaders like Kaiser in Germany and Tsar in Russia took their titles from his name. He was a man of contradictions, a populist who seized power, a reformer who ruled like a king, a military genius who met a tragic end. His life reshaped the Roman world, and his legacy echoes through time. From military strategy to political ambition, his story offers timeless lessons. If you enjoyed exploring the life of Julius Caesar, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more historical stories that shaped our world. Thanks for watching.